going on YouTube? Welcome to another video. Joining me here for our leg workout. And now that we're combining 3 workouts into one video, I'm just as lost as you are with where we're at, but we're just going to go off of the training that I usually share at the end. For most part, it's going to be an upper body or a lower body day, and then that's going to be like the theme going forward. So things are getting interesting. We're kind of building into where I want to be. We're kind of building into progressing into things, and that's why I called this the Ascent series. I'm trying to reach some heights that I hit before the injury and then exceed them. So some interesting stuff's happening on the squats. Things are starting to make sense. I'm starting to really dial in not only just like my form, but also my confidence. So for me, like the whole point of showing this is just the progression to go from not 0, because we were never at 0, but to go from recovering, getting my confidence back, and then, exceeding the expectations I originally had. That's kind of the whole thing. I want to get to a pretty high baseline where then we can adjust, add different weights, and kind of do something interesting. And the more weight you move, the more interesting the videos are. So we all know how it is. And I'm excited because I always lift better in the winter months. We're entering spring soon, and we'll be in a good space. I can't wait. I lift better when the weather's warm. I lift better when there's moisture in the air isn't so dry. And then we can pop the shorts and stuff out. So that's the game plan. And these winter months, these are the hard and gritty months. These are the months where, it's cold, it's hard to get up, it's dark when you go to the gym and everything, especially if you work a traditional job. And that's basically all this is. It's just we're training in the hard times, we're training in the good times. Just trying to prepare ourselves for, the things we want to do. And again, it depends on whatever your goals are, strength-wise, bodybuilding-wise. As long as you're progressing forward in some way, you're doing a net benefit. And you have to be cognizant of the changes that may occur, whether it's recovery, injury, stuff like that. And that's all this really is. It's just to basically tell you, figure out a plan and then make it work. There's going to be some refinements you're going to need to do. There's going to be some battles you're going to have to kind of go through, and whether that's life or just regular, training sessions that are hard, that's the whole game plan here. So like I said, take any hobby you want, film some videos, film the progress, film everything else that's kind of going on, and then just, show everybody what you're doing. We're making progress in every way, and that's all that matters. So again, we're stacking wins on top of each other and kind of, charting a path for success. So we've been kind of babying deadlifts for a little bit, squats seemingly going up, which will inherently raise our deadlift. We just got to get to a position where, we're comfortable, everything is firing correctly. There are still some weird little nuances in the arm that I had the surgery on when I deadlift, specifically in the tricep area. And I think it's all just connection points, and now there's an artificial new connection in my bicep, so things work a little differently. You just have to figure out from there. But we just want to make sure that our form is solid in everything that we're doing, and then we're lifting safely. So I started implementing the leg press more, and I think this is fundamental for most lifting. I mean, obviously, if it's your primary leg mover, you may need to add in other things, but like I said, I enjoy the leg press. I like moving weight. I like the benefit of it, but that's secondary to the squats and deadlifts, which are, the primary movement. And again, I'm going to reiterate, not a power lifter, have no intention of ever competing in powerlifting. This is just something I do for fun. The goal is to get strong. The goal is to just move things and see what I can do and just keep moving forward. It's fun to do. You meet a lot of cool people doing it, and it's like any other hobby. If you're putting time and effort into something with a strategic plan, you're going to get better at it. No different than any other career path where you're working at a job, picking up skills, getting promoted, doing stuff like that. So just find other avenues outside of life that are interested to you, and then just kind of run with them. I mean, that's all you can really do. Otherwise, you're sitting home bored all day. I mean, fitness is fundamental. You can find any other sport, hobby that you want to do that will, foster those fitness goals, and just go with it. So, as we ramp up, that's really all this is. Watch the weights go up, watch the training and everything, and let's go. Let's get people moving. Let's build more stuff and have a good time doing it. So going into our back workout here, and this has been another exercise just with the connection point of the bicep that can get finicky sometimes. Sometimes I'll get some irritation or whatever in the joint, and I just have to be careful with not only just going too heavy, but too much volume. But I am monitoring it, and I am doing things to prevent any further issues if there are any. I'll pull back on exercises, find alternatives, and that's really what this is about. It's about achieving your goals in whatever way that you need to. You can use any movement to achieve that. Some people like pull-ups. I've never been good at pull-ups. I can do them. I always develop shoulder issues, and the last thing I want to do is anything pull-up related, body weight like that with the injured bicep, at least for now. Kind of this whole Ascent process in the rebuild series before was just to build the foundation, get everything nice and solid, to give us a nice platform, starting point to really start pushing things, because for me, that's always been my thing. I like to push the boundaries of what I can do. And, like with anything else, we're trying to get better and investing all that time and effort. It's got to pay off for something. So figure out what that is for you and make it happen. So with this bodybuilding related exercise stuff, like it all supports the strength stuff. Keeps you fit, builds muscle, and that is fundamental in lifting the heavier weights. If you've got more lean body mass to kind of recruit during those lifts, you're a little bit safer. You're further reinforced, tendons, ligaments, joints. To a degree. You can also overdo it, get tendonitis, which I do from time to time, especially in the elbows. And you just have to mitigate all that and pick your battles. We're not out here lifting heavy all the time. And with the recovery and the rebuild series and everything like that, that was the longest amount of time I think I've ever taken off from, actively, progressively getting stronger. And that's why the recovery was so easy on those, because I wasn't hitting anywhere near the threshold of what I've been training to do. So, like, I know a lot of people don't like to squat and deadlift in the same workout. That's been my reality for the last 4 to 5 years. And I can probably hit 90% of each in the same workout if I wanted to at any time of my max. So vary that to get the work in. Technique is also super important. That's how you build those connections in your head to be able to move through movements, get more efficient, and also acclimate your body to it. The weight is irrelevant to a degree. There is going to be some difficulty with what you're doing, but that adaptation phase, that is the most important part, to allow your body to be exposed to something and recover. Come back, do it again, rinse and repeat to keep going further. Whenever you throw in a new exercise, things are going to change. There's going to be an adjustment period, and you have to decide, which way you want to go. That's why start something new. You start, light and moderate, get the form down, and then build back up. And that's what's fundamental here. I added T-bar rows here not too long ago, and I started off at like 2 plates, really low, and now we're back up at 3. And again, this is after all the previous exercises that we've done. So just go in stride. As long as you're progressing forward, you're going to see those benefits, and do things in a safe way so that you recover. Not everything is going to be immediate and satisfying. To a degree, you're going to have to earn them, but it feels good to kind of look back and say, okay, look where I'm at now, though. Obviously not an exercise that, I was able to do after the surgery, just avoiding all, back and stuff too. But we're back. I mean, think about this. In the rebuild series, when I first started benching, I was benching 65 pounds, and it was it was not easy. But here we are. We're back up. We're benching. We're doing everything I was doing before. OHP is starting to go up again, which is great. That was probably the last holdout in the injuries or the exercises that were affected by injuries. That one is definitely coming along, and we've made some progress, which, you're not going to see for several videos, but that's what this is all about. Strength is the goal. Body recomp slowly but surely. And, things get complicated when you have to recover. You don't want to remove, nutrition and satiation from yourself when you're recovering. It just puts you in a less advantageous position. People tend to get injured when they overestimate that and, underestimate their calories and push too hard. The recovery just isn't there. So we're being smart with it. We're setting baselines, And we're going to exceed those baselines and go from there. We're in this for the long haul. This isn't some short satisfaction. I'm going to lift for 4 to 5 years and then disappear off the face of the earth. This is a lifestyle. This is something I've done since I was 17, and I'm not going to stop. And there have been countless times where I've had my own ego checked. There's been countless times where I've had to reevaluate how I do things, and it's refined me into what I'm doing now. And as long as you keep going and adjusting and making things work for yourself, I think you'll be in a good spot. And that's with anything. You're never gonna, I won't say never. Sometimes you will get things right out the gate, but it's very hard to be very good at a lot of things, so you have to slowly work towards them. But if you're smart enough and make those connections, you can see how something like a dumbbell press will benefit your barbell bench press. One of them may be harder depending on how you are and what you do, but they complement each other. And by complementing each other, they're both going to get better if you do them. And that's something that I've always done. Range of motion is super important to me. And that's why, like on bench, obviously the wider you go, you kind of cut that range of motion, make things a little bit easier for yourself. And with the dumbbell bench, you can fill in those gaps with where you may not have been able to do that. And like I mentioned here on OHP, same thing. With a lot of pressing, when we're, laying on our back down below, like this plane of movement is super important too. We want to make sure the shoulders are healthy, so we're doing our shoulder work. And we're making sure that we're well-rounded in all of our pressing movements and kind of going from there. So just work out everything. The people that only do upper body and lower body, I don't get it. You need those recovery times, which means if you can kind of separate them, you get more training time in the gym and you get more chances to burn more calories, build more muscle. So it's beneficial in every way possible. So we went on another rant here because I pop an energy drink every time I start making these voiceovers, and so whatever pops into my head, all that alpha GPC and stuff, the brain gets going. And then also reminiscing on the workout that I had, because sometimes I'm editing these 2 months in the past or 2 months in the future. The workout happened in the past, and so that's kind of where we're at now, though. So it's a journey, but it's a fun journey. And I think just kind of showing people, the ups and downs is super important. A lot of the internet is a highlight reel, so you're going to have to decide what's important to you. But the question is, what is more beneficial? Is it the one-time victories or the long-term gains over time? And I think long-term will always hold out. You'll be healthier. You'll be in a better position to do the things you want to do. And the commitment speaks volumes to that. Sometimes people don't work well with adversity. Things don't go the way they are and they're not hitting PRs. It can be a problem. But anyway, that's the video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.